bounce off full of shit now. Off the tits, off the tits, off the tits. You said I want to be your girlfriend. You said I want to be your girl. You say I want to be your girlfriend.
I think exactly what you said, an artist actually going out and saying, I'm going to go out of my way to find female producers, to employ them, and to give them a leg up. Yeah. That's kind of what needs to happen.
I mean, everybody's kind of like doing their own thing, and it's just a matter of like what works for you or how you want to approach things and then take it from there.
I think that's I'm really glad you spoke first, because you have a quality that you just described that it took me a long time to figure out that that's the key thing. Like, I came from a classical trained theater background, yeah. Oh, yeah. And didn't really even think about writing till I was in my 20s. And then for a long time was like looking to producers in Toronto to like help me. I think it's that curiosity and that pure intuition that the way that you work that makes the most interesting art. Anyway, I got into production after maybe 5 years in Toronto of working with different male producers and not getting anywhere in terms of like my sound. And so I think I had one of the producers, he told me, this one producer in Montreal was like, look, I don't really like your music. Oh my I know, it was really harsh.
To your face?
To my face, yeah. And he was like, but he gave me a really good piece of advice, which kicked me in the butt. He's like, you gotta learn Ableton and you gotta start making your own demos. You'll be way more productive, you'll get way more done, your writing will get better, faster, et cetera, et cetera. Mm-hmm. So that's when I started learning Ableton. And my early songs, the songs that kind of got me to LA and gave me a publishing deal were demos that I had produced myself and then finished with other producers. So by starting those demos, I was able to put my stamp on them and finally have the sound that ultimately became Allie X.
Yeah. Because I think that I sometimes feel like, I need to learn so.
Yeah, like I need to go to music school or whatever, but you don't. Yeah. I think the best artists are the ones that are doing it the way you're doing it. And that's what I find so refreshing about your music is it's just so pure and like undoctored. Like it just feels so unique. Yeah.
Thank you. No, I feel like sometimes I approach things a bit like childlike, maybe like I don't know what's going on, so I'ma just like, with this effect, I don't really know what it's used for, so I'm gonna just use it here and I'm gonna just like see what happens. And if I like it, I like it. If I like it, or if I don't like it, and it'll be cool.
I recorded most of it on outboard equipment, which purely analog would be like no digital synths, and I did use digital synths, so it's not technically all analog. And I used on songs like Galena and like hardware software, I think.
Sorry.
Thank you. I there was like a couple exceptions where I had like soft synths that were in the computer, but mostly it was all outboard equipment. And I just find that gives me more instant inspiration. Your music sounds like you use a lot of like plugins and digital and it sounds amazing. For me, when I get into a plugin, I'm just not as inspired. I don't know why, but when I'm touching something and it's tactile and it's kind of crotchety and not behaving correctly, I get really into it.
Wow.
And so that's kind of why I took that route with this record.
How is doing things like, because I've only known the computer, like that's how I was like, I've only known like how to do things on the computer, but when it comes to literally like anything outside the computer, I'm like, how are you able to learn and like navigate just like putting your own style like on?
Yeah, I mean, I'm no like queen of synthesis. Like I wish I was. And Justin Meldal Johnson, who finished the record with me, he is a king of synthesis. Like I bow down in respect. So when I do it, that is where I get more sort of intuitive. Like I I usually will just use a preset and then I'll just fuck with it a bit and be like, that sounds good. You know, I don't go deep. Like I just know kind of what I like. I was gonna ask what plugins are you using on the, because you have such a sound design going on.
I'm deceased.
I am deceased.
I'm deceased. So I was like, what I do is I start with like a demo and I get it to where I can get it. And sometimes I'm like, I think like for half of the times I was just like, okay, I think I did good. I think I did okay.
Yeah.
And I did this one, we'll get it. And for half of the time I was just like, this would probably like go further and stuff. I will just go and I will just pick something and I won't even look. And I'll be like, I'll do the little, I literally have something called reverb.
Yeah.
And, like it's literally just called reverb. Like there's not like, I don't know where it's from. I don't know where I got it from. I don't know why I labeled it that way. I was like, okay, reverb. And then I would just do it. I was like, yeah, that sounds good. That sounds cool.
Yeah.
And without that, call it a day. That's it.
I get the vibe that you're more uninhibited than I am, and so that's my impression through your music. I'm way more controlling. So when I wrote Girl With No Face, the record, I would say 20% of the time I was having fun and felt really creative, and 80% of the time I was like, what do I do? So yeah, that's sort of, I mean, it wasn't really a balanced or a pleasant process. I'm hoping that having done that, like the next time I can have more fun.
Yeah.
Now that I've sort of like learned certain things and like proven to myself that I can do it. But yeah, more of it was technical than I wish it was. I wish it was more uninhibited and fun.
In hindsight, I can be like, oh, that was fun. But during the process, was Jesus Christ, just finish the fucking song, Naomi. And like, I'm sure I'm having fun. Like I want to be here if I'm not. But I was like, I think that like goes in the back of my mind. I'm more just like, oh my gosh, like I need this sound and I don't know what sound I need. And I need to figure this out and blah, blah, blah. And it's just like,
it's a lot of moving parts all at once. And
yeah.
It can be pretty like, I think that is one thing about working with multiple people is everyone's carrying a little bit of the weight. So it's way less pressure and it can be way more fun.
Yeah.
But I feel like the final result of doing a song yourself is way more satisfying.
Definitely. I feel like I'm more 50-50 though. I'll say 50-50. I was like, I'll say 50-50. But I think that I don't realize I'm having fun until in hindsight. I was like, oh, like I was like hunched over there, like eating oatmeal. What do you call, just like doing a little thing, and that was actually kind of nice. you know, like that was actually cool. But like during the process, it's like, oh my god, like oh.
Go take the piss and flirt with the weird, not stop full of shit now. Off for the tits.
I do think I have. Like I usually try to go in a session with a direction, and so I'm like I can easily be like, that's not working, or that's not it, or I know what I want. Well, basically, I know what I want. When I was doing that, sometimes it felt that like they didn't think that I knew what I wanted, and it was just I don't know. I was like I didn't like that because I understood like like I'm new, like I just like I don't know. But I don't know.
I think I know what you're saying. Like I've been there and I've seen it happen. And you're in the room with some. Let's just make some archetype here. It's some guy who's like in his early 30s and he went to Berkeley and he can play a little bit of the bass. He was a lead guitarist in a band for a while. He knows Pro Tools and Ableton. He knows music theory really well. He's a confident guy. He's really good at communicating. Yeah. And all of that makes him feel like he's a better and more capable artist than you, when in fact, what you're creating is far more interesting and more pure and is actually unique and original. So you can have all those skills, but he can't necessarily replicate something that you can make, you know?
Yeah.
And I think like it's those sorts of that sort of training and that sort of like backbone of confidence about being a good musician that it actually, I've seen a lot of situations with that type of guy where yeah, you start to feel kind of like, oh, well, yeah, I don't know how to make a beat as quickly as you, or I don't know how to get that particular chain of effects that makes it sound radio ready, or I could go on and on, but yeah, I'm just like creating it. I'm kind of like taking what you said and turning it into a projection of my own, but is it kind of accurate?
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I run into that all the time, and I think girls that have a curiosity about production or like a really good sort of instinct about it, we can be really scared off by those situations. I certainly was, which is why I sort of stopped producing when I moved to LA, because I couldn't keep up, you know?
Yeah, like going into like those rooms made me really realize like, it's like, girl, you gotta build up your confidence, because they're like, I remember meeting somebody who like approached things like the way that I approach things, and like I was working and I was just like, you're working like on the same thing that I'm working on, that I use Logic. I was like, you're working on the same thing I work on, like this is essentially like what I do in my room. Like why am I unconfident? Why am I not confident about that's ridiculous. And like he had like Grammys and stuff. I'm like I don't even care about all that. I'm just like, bro, like he's like, well, but I guess like in my mind, like he's doing the damn thing, and this is like what you do. Like you're just like watching somebody do what.
I know, and seeing those platinum and gold records and Grammys and everything on someone's wall, it is disorienting. Yeah. You know, you're like, well, they did that, so they must be better than me or whatever. Yeah, I'm not really sure what the answer is, but it is. As a female, I find those situations disorienting.
You got me in the tits. I thought I was an alien, found out I was a twin.
I think for any young girl or any old girl who wants to become a producer, my advice is go do it and have fun. Don't expect to be good right away. Don't be turned off by the fact that you're not good right away. Because we talk about intuition a lot in this discussion, but we're not born with the skills to know the shortcuts in Ableton. Like it takes time. You have to sort of like integrate yourself into a machine to become a good producer, into whatever DAW you're using. And yeah, I guess like one of the real takeaways from this discussion, especially meeting Hemlock Springs, is like the amount of just like uninhibited, instinctual talent, you know, that's in you, and that could be in anyone, whether they're classically trained or whether they've been to Berkeley or whether they've grown up on a farm and have parents that have zero interest in music, you know, like it's just something that's in you that makes the most interesting art. And so I don't think for anyone that's interested in production, there's kind of no reason why you wouldn't be great at it. Give it a go. That's my advice.
I completely 100% agree. Just gotta do it. I think something that might have helped me is like do it in fear, because I used to think that it was like, oh, I'll wait till I'm ready. You're never gonna be ready.
Yeah, exactly. Do it in fear. It's really good advice. It's natural to be scared. It's a sign you're doing something right.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. To get where you need to be, you're gonna just have to be out. You're gonna have to be out of your comfort zone.
Oh my God, my whole life has been out of my comfort zone. Yeah, like I feel like it's a brave existence, you know. You're in your comfort zone.
But you're
here.
You're
here. Yeah.
You say I want to be your girlfriend. It wasn't really in my plans.